Today we're going to be doing a review on the PowerSpec G467. So this is one of the in-house builds they do through Micro Center. The PowerSpec line is a pre-built system that they offer, pre-assembled in the box obviously. So it's not something that they build in-house there, but they have done at the home office. And it is all done with off-the-shelf components. So ASUS motherboard, Intel Core i9 processor, and I believe this is an ASUS TUF video card as well. They do a PowerSpec themed Lian Lancool 205, I want to say, case that they've got all branded and everything, but it is all warranted through PowerSpec, which is Micro Center themselves. So today we're going to be doing an open boxing on it, kind of showing you what it looks like, what the performance runs, and then later on we're going to be telling you about how we're going to modify it so that we can show you what you can do with a pre-built system and how you can change it up to be uniquely your own, as well as some of the parts we offer here at V1 Tech to kind of change it up and spice it up to whatever you'd like to tailor it to. So obviously it comes with instruction manual here in the box, how to attach the antennas, don't plug your graphics card in the I/O shield, things like that. They do give you a basic keyboard and mouse, nothing special. Looks like some pretty OEM stuff here. Not really anything gamery there, but included nonetheless. That way you can use it, kind of figure out what peripherals you would like to run. Let's get this guy dropped on the table here. Alrighty, so no baggie, computer comes just as is. They do that for static. A lot of the PC cases, if you've ever opened a PC case before, comes with a static bag around the case, but they don't want to do that because they don't want to shock any of the parts. This is pretty well padded. You can see it's got cardboard on the outside, and then it's got the styrofoam on the inside. It's pretty thick, pretty plush styrofoam there, so it is not bad there. Take this guy out. And you can see it also comes with the baggie for the ASUS Wi-Fi antenna, as well as a power adapter and some Windows 10 recovery drive, things like that, how to get that all set up. So this is the PC. Like I said, I believe this is the Lancool 205. This one is kind of their standard, I believe it's a $70 case. So they do ship it with the black one of these guys here. Pretty basic overall case, resembles a lot like the NZXT H510. They try to shoot for that because it's a pretty popular case with Micro Center. So you do have the solid front panel. It does say PowerSpec down the bottom because they are partnered with them. Intel Core i9 obviously. And one thing that we noticed here previously is that it does not come with any mesh filtration down the front. There is the perforated holes and the solid panel, but with the two fans up at the front, there is not a dedicated mesh panel. So something to keep note of. You can purchase any mesh filters, things like that, if you live in a home with a lot of animals, anything like that. But taking a look inside, we do have a ASUS. I believe this is a Z490 Strix motherboard. Obviously the Intel Core i9, I believe this is a 10900KF. So yes, overclockable, no onboard video. Not a big deal because it does come with a RTX 3080. This one's the EVGA for the Win 3 model. Some of them come with some of the ASUS TUF models. This one comes with the EVGA. They don't specify which one, just because graphics cards being as short as they are, that's just how they're shipping them out at the moment. It does come with a Cooler Master. This is one of their ML240L model with a two fans, RGB fans up at the top, and then two black G.Skill Ripjaws 5 sticks of RAM. Those are in 2x16 3200 megahertz frequency. You can see they actually did some pretty good cable management. Yeah, PowerSpec again, their in-house brand. This one is a 750 bronze, so 750 about the minimum spec you'd want to run for a 3080, but will get the job done definitely. It is 80 plus bronze as well, so they're doing pretty good there as far as just a basic standard power supply. It is an OEM, so they do have to cut costs down as much as possible. So you can see it's all ketchup and mustard cables, but they did a pretty good job routing everything, tying everything up, making sure it's all connected properly, and then stuffing all the cables in through here with the support there. You can see it's got two hard drive mounts down here. You've got two SSD mounts up on the side over here, and then pretty basic and clean overall other than that. So wrapping back around to the parts, like we said, it is an Intel Core i9 10900KF. And to pair up with a RTX 3080, that's going to be a pretty good pairing. Obviously not as good as something like a Ryzen 9 5900X, but those are almost more rare than video cards nowadays, to be entirely honest. And with the i9, you're still getting a lot of the same performance, just barely undercutting what the Ryzen 9 would be able to do, especially once you're considering the 32 gigs of RAM, and I believe I forgot to mention the 1 terabyte M.2 SSD. Alrighty, now we're going to get into some performance testing, kind of see how the i9 pairs with the 3080 and how they configured it with all of the parts that comes with it. Kind of take a look at some temperature testing, some FPS, things like that. I went through the Windows setup. I didn't want to record any of that stuff, but it starts you at full fresh Windows install, so we did have to make an account, go through all that. The only things I did other than that is set up the NVIDIA drivers for the 3080 that's in here. And then I also downloaded ASUS Armory Crate just to make sure that the performance is getting as up to date for right now as we can possibly do. The other 3 pieces of software I downloaded were Cinebench R20. I downloaded Furmark as well. So we're going to be able to run a GPU test on Furmark here. And then I also downloaded 3D Mark, so we can actually get some scores and get some testing. We are going to be doing TimeSpy Extreme, and the other one that I need to download is Port Royale as well. So we're going to download both of these, make sure everything's running properly, and then we will kind of come back and show you guys some test numbers here. So it has been about 20 minutes now. We've been letting it run with Cinebench and Furmark for about 20 minutes because we are running a liquid cooler. We wanted to let the heat kind of saturate in the fluid. So with Cinebench running, I mean, starting at the motherboard, you're looking at 47 degrees maximum is what we kind of topped out at. It is an ASUS Strix motherboard. It's one of their higher end just before you get to their like top end Maximus. And those are going to provide really good heat sinks on the motherboard itself. So it's going to be running pretty good there. On the processor, again, this one is an i9 10900KF. So it did throttle up pretty hard, going up to about 91 degrees. So it didn't actually hit peak thermal throttle where it has to start dropping down, but it did peak up pretty hard during its AVX instruction. After the timer kind of kicked off, it did drop down to about 75 degrees Celsius. And we can actually see it peaked up at about 250 watts max peak draw. So it definitely started pulling quite a bit on the processor. We can see it leveled off at about 5 gigahertz peak turbo and dropped down to anywhere between 4.5 to about 4.9 on the megahertz. For the graphics card, this is the one that kind of peaked up a little hard. I don't know if I mentioned in the last little bit when we unboxed it, but this For the Win 3 video card does have 2 VBIOS on board. Sounds a little daunting. Basically, it's just got a normal and an OC switch on the side of the video card. We'll probably show video of that here. But it is out of the box in the normal VBIOS setup. We did leave it in the normal VBIOS, that way it'll run lower frequencies, lower thermals is kind of what we were targeting. It does have NVIDIA's GPU Boost 3.0, so it will push its frequencies up as high as possible, as much as it can, which basically means, you know, the lower the temperature, the higher the frequency. It's pretty direct translation there. So here we did see it get up to about 82 degrees Celsius. And it is still running at about 81 right now. Fans are kicking up. It's at about 3,000 RPM in peak. It's leveled off at about 2,500 RPM right now. And it is also running at about 1600 to 1710 on the megahertz frequency, peaking up at about 1900 megahertz at one point. So this card did peak at about 350 watts. So these things are not a joke. So that 750 watt power supply, definitely, you know, a minimum recommendation for something like this. If you're running peak 350 on the graphics card and up to, what did I say, peak 250 on the processor itself? Yeah, 249 watts. So you're talking a good 600 watts between just the processor and the graphics card, not including RAM, SSDs, things like monitor, pull a little bit of power out of the DisplayPort cables, any RGB fans you have, all the fans themselves, any lighting, stuff like that. So definitely 750 is a good minimum recommendation for something like this. And we're gonna go ahead and jump into the 3D Mark test here after this. So this is absolutely going to be something that is not gonna be indicative of your everyday performance. This is just peak power draw if you're doing any individual high performance, say video editing or graphics design, things like that. Let's go ahead and jump into the 3D Mark test, see what kind of scores we're gonna get, and go from there. This one is going to kind of show what running RTX gameplay might look like. It's definitely gonna hit your graphics card a lot harder than your processor, but still needs a good processor to keep up with all the graphics that you're having to shove into these new RTX cards that are running really good high-performing stuff here. So FPS, we're looking at a good, it's right over here. Peaked up at about 70 FPS, was running right in through here at about 50 most of the time here, with dips all the way down to upper 30s. CPU temp, GPU temp, you're looking at about 40 to 50 degrees on CPU temp, peaked up at about 80 degrees throughout the rest of the test here. GPU load, obviously peaking up all the way through, staying at about 4.9 gigahertz on the CPU clock speed there, and 1900 on the GPU temp pretty much the entire way through. So definitely running some pretty good temps here. Again, this is on the normal setting for the VBIOS for the 3080. These are gonna be very respectable numbers from both the i9 and the 3080. Again, not as high end as something like a Ryzen 9 would be, but definitely keeping up as much as it can. During our bench test, where we were actually pushing the parts with FurMark and Cinebench, it was hitting this weird, we didn't adjust any of the fan curves, but it was hitting this weird sweet spot right in the middle where the fans would drop to about 70 to 80% and then ramp up to 100 over and over again. So it was just kind of, it sounded like it was revving at us, like it was just ramping up and down over and over again. So just something to keep note of. You can go into the ASUS AI Suite software. We didn't do that here. We wanted a fresh out of the box experience with all drivers up to date. You can go into the ASUS AI Suite software and tweak the fans and how quiet or loud you want them to run. So that's something we did not do. So, if you do want to picking up a machine like this, keep that in mind. That's something you can do as well. That's pretty much it. Make sure you stay tuned. We are going to be doing a part 2 for this, not for this particular machine, but showing how you can take a computer like this that you can go to Micro Center and purchase, so long as it's more off-the-shelf style components like we have here, and show you how you can upgrade it, what parts you can buy, and stuff that we offer here at V1 Tech to show you how you can kind of take this computer and just take it to the next level. Take something that's in stock now, you can get a video card, get a whole machine for a good price and at MSRP, take it to the next level. Go buy, things like a case, custom RGB backplate, AIO covers, all the fun stuff there, and take it to the next level, customize it, make it personally your own. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you stay tuned for part 2 of this. Make sure you like and subscribe, drop a comment, and we will see you guys in the next one.